All right, all right. All right. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you can see me, if you can hear me. So we've been trying the stream since yesterday, right? And we should be good now. But never know. Well, internet là still beaucoup parfait. Mais nous t'as supposé qu'à recevoir normalement, nous t'as supposé qu'à recevoir correctement. Et mon seconde. Alright. Nous t'as supposé qu'à ni tendre bien, ni ouem bien. Everything should be fine now. Pas de micro acteur pour moi. Everything should be fine now, so. And hopefully, il était comme ça. Et oui, pour le internet là, c'est pas seulement moi-même. J'aime t'as dit nous matin. Gen banque qui te relé, gen l'autre entreprise dans zone qui te relé. Et c'est tout dans zone qui a un problème. Non? En tout cas, plus de peur que de mal, nous tourner et puis moi tout me fait l'autre ajustement dans le computer, me checker pour moi c'est tout normal. Tout est normal bon côté computer va gagner absolument rien. Et OBS moi tout à fait normal. Malgré bon pas fait dessus moi tirer un paquet de bagages oui moi tirer un paquet overlay parce que là ce qui paraît overlay en quelque sorte agit sur CPU GPU etc. Donc si un petit collé n'a fait me connaître. All right, so today we're gonna talk about how to identify low probability days. Okay, so son vidéo m'a fait à la fois en anglais et en créole pour qui ça parce que il y a un market review que m'a fait pour tout le monde, pour nous toutes, et que ce market review que m'a mis sur channel là tout, so that's why j'ai fait les deux langues ensemble. Since nous pas de contenu hier, nous pas de market review hier, nous pas de market breakdown matin, I'm sorry for that. Et bon, malgré mon schedule d'appointment à 8h01, je penser son baril pour un paquet de temps, tout 9h20, je teste dans internet. So, normalement, si nous avons payé pour nous recevoir contenu, nous supposons gagner. Donc, si nous pas gagner, c'est faute pam. Donc, that's why je fais stream ça. Okay? So, now we're gonna talk about low probability days. Okay? Low probability days. C'est-à-dire que journée côté que market l'a montré que gagne low probability. OK? So depuis hier, nous en mode low probability. OK? Avant de parler de low probability, qui ça qui high probability? OK? So what is basically high probability trade? OK? So nous connaissons que nous besoin de deux bagages pour nous trade. OK? Nous besoin de deux bagages. Nous besoin de manipulation, ça c'est une. And then nous besoin de target. Ça c'est deux. So, nous besoin de manipulation, nous besoin de target. Mais ça qui est important pour nous connaître, c'est que si que nous besoin de manipulation, si nous besoin de manipulation, si nous besoin d'aller to the downside, nous avons dit downside target, nous besoin de manipulation qui fait en lait. OK? Donc, c'est-à-dire que si ma essayé frame journée, hein, OK? Si je une manipulation en lait, il faut que je target en bas. C'est-à-dire que automatiquement que nous gagnons en manipulation en lait, OK? So objectif là, c'est aller chercher target en bas. OK? Donc, si ouais, est-ce que nous pas un target en bas pour nous aller attaquer? OK? Whatever, si ou t'es dans bronze contexte ou t'es dans silver contexte. So basically, c'est ça qui souvent apparaît dans le graphe nous, c'est jeune manipulation pour nous aller to the downside. Les downside dit nous guérison pour your reverse. OK? Et songez bien que raison qui pour faire reverse, c'est le résistance ou c'est le résistance high. OK? So basically, you have to find two things in order to take a trade. You need a manipulation, you need a target. All right. So basically, people ask me question about targets a lot of times. If they can consider previous day highs and lows, weekly highs and lows, well, you can do it. Okay. At some point I can at some point I have to say, all right, you can do it. No bad me. But basically, my main priority is basically low resistance, so low resistance high equal lows and equal highs. All right. So if I want to short, I want to see market create a manipulation and having downside targets, okay, below. So I know that's the reason why, okay, that's the reason why I want to see price moving to the downside, which is the target. All right. And now I'm waiting for price to give me any confirmation. Okay. And again, I see you guys trying to overcomplicate execution. Okay. Execution doesn't have to be complicated. All right. So you know about inversion, you know about imbalance, you know about IC candle. Well, if you want to just enter after the creation of the concept, that's not a problem. Okay. Well, which means if we just have the inversion and you say, all right, let me just enter inside of the inversion, but make sure that your risk is not too high. Okay, your risk is not too high, and then if you want, you can enter. All right, because I've seen that in the community, people asking me, do they have to wait for the retest? Me, basically, I wait for retest, but if you don't want to, there is nothing bad with that. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, you're waiting for confirmation, you have it, you take the trade, and that's it. Okay. Well, if you did your analysis, you basically know why you wanted to short and then why you wanted to long. Okay, so basically that's a high probability setup. Okay, you have downside target, you have an upside manipulation. Right here you had a potential area. Okay, you had a potential zone. Okay, so the market give you your confirmation. You wait for M15, you wait for 1 hour, you wait for, I don't know. Okay, you are free to do whatever you want inside of this area and then move to the downside. That's a high probability target. Okay, the opposite is the same thing. Okay, the opposite is basically the same thing, which means you have an upside target. Okay, it's simple. You have an upside target, and then so now you wait for manipulation and then you move to the upside. Okay, so wait for price to come to a buy area, and then you want to see price moving to the upside. So basically your trade might be right here. Okay, so you might have an opportunity right here, or you might wait for price to create a retracement, especially if you're gold context or whatever the context it might be. Wait for a retracement to keep going higher. That's basically what I wanted to see this morning, but that didn't happen, and we will go over all of these things. All right, so these two scenarios, they are basically higher probability. Okay, this is high probability. You have a manipulation and then you have a target. That's high probability. Okay, but what's gonna happen, sometimes the market gonna do what it wants to do. All right, so basically what's gonna happen, both sides will create the same things, which means you're gonna have manipulation both ways. Okay, so en pile fois market n'a pas fait price action qui pral pas high probability, côté que pral gen manipulation dans tous les deux bords. OK, à moins que ou t'es déjà dans en position dans sell ça, on dit côté dans position dans sell ça, et que ou t'es une opportunité ou bien t'es déjà gon target dans zone ça ou déjà for whatever context là, et puis kounya ou t'es jouir de opportunité ça, it's fine, but automatiquement que ou nan mi-temps de manipulation, that's low probability. Okay, So automatically, like, you find two manipulations, which means you have like I said today. Like I said today, what does that mean? What's up, Mwen plizye moun ap komante sa nan ba video myo. Pi kase bot kap komante kon sa, non? So now, basically, si gen manipulation nan no, jem di jodi ya, manipulation nan no, manipulation nan sud, it's basically low probability scenario. Okay? Which means you have a manipulation from the upside, you have a manipulation from the downside. So now what's gonna happen? Basically, the market will stay in between of these two manipulations for the entire day, or the market will spend a lot of times right here before creating another expansion, and this expansion might be follow the the last manipulation you had, and this expansion might basically continue the up movement you had. So basically, as whenever you find yourself in the middle of two manipulations, you can basically say that, all right, this is a low probability area, this is a low probability environment, so I can just stay away. Yeah. So you can like just stay away. And then, all right, so you have manipulation here. Okay, so that looks like a manipulation. You had a nice potential sell area, the market manipulated and dropped to the downside. If let's say you you were present when the market was doing this manipulation, so you took the trade, all right, and then what happened? Let's say you missed the move, all right, let's say you missed the move, and you say, all right, that might be the first leg and I'm waiting for a retracement to go to the downside. All right, that's fine. But the retracement is also a reaction from a potential buy area you had. So basically, you had manipulation both ways. In this environment, we've talked about that. So nobody this up is here for déjà. So basically, the market gonna spend a lot of times in between. Okay. The market will spend a lot of times in between of these two manipulation. That's basically what happened today. That's basically what happened yesterday. And also we have the second low probability area, environment. Okay, it's basically when you have targets in both ways. Okay, so the difference between when we have two manipulation and then when we have two targets, it's when we have two targets, I might stay in the market just to wait one of them to be manipulated. Okay, just to wait to see, all right, if the market can manipulate one of them, we might go to the other one. Okay, let's say I have a downside target right here. Okay, and then I have an upside target right here. So basically, I might stay in the market a little bit just to see if we're gonna manipulate like the first one, and then after that we attack the second one, or if we can, let's say, build liquidity, all right, in between, and then go to the upside, manipulate the one of them, and then I will take the trade to go to the downside. You feel me? And then that might be the first target and that might be the second target. But this is also low probability environment, but this environment just tell me to wait. Okay, this, if you're a day trader, this environment just tell you to wait. Okay, but the first one, when you have two manipulations in both ways, it's basically tell you, well, if you can sit on your screen, on your hand, and watch the screen, just watch it. But if you want to like move and you want to move away and try to do other stuff, and you can just go in or do other stuff, because I'm gonna spend a lot of times in this, in between of these two manipulations. All right, so let's see what I'm talking about. All right, let's take for example today. All right, so today what happened? Not even today, bro. Not even just today. We had it yesterday. Let's talk about yesterday too. Let's talk about yesterday, because that's exactly what I said yesterday. Okay. So basically, yesterday we can see that the market manipulated this area right here. Okay. And then we had a potential sell area right there. Well, if I really wanted to do something, I will probably shorted the market, because I wanted to see retracement in order to go to the upside. Okay, I wanted to see retracement in order to go to the upside, and we've talked about that in the breakdowns I've made on my French channel, and we talked about that in the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, I wanted to see a retracement and then to go to the upside. I really thought that's what I had this morning when I woke up, but well, we're gonna talk about that. All right. So yesterday we had it like that. So that's basically what we had as price action. Okay, that's not the best price action. So the market manipulate the previous day high. We can see our price react. Okay, and even if we watch the M1, I guess, H1, H4, we can see like big reaction. Okay, so if we just watch H4, you can see this candle. All right, this candle tells us that there is a rejection to go to the upside, and also the next candle telling us, all right, that's a manipulation to go to the downside. So basically we had manipulation in both direction. We had manipulation right here, and then we had manipulation right there. And that's basically when I texted, I said, you know what, I'm out, because that's gonna be a market that's gonna be consolidating for the rest of the day. All right, because that's what happened most of the time. The market will not create a trend price action. So of course, after a few accumulation, after a few consolidation right here, okay, as you can see, during the PM session, the market finally moved to the downside, and we can see our price just create another accumulation right, not accumulation, consolidation right here. So basically every time we had manipulation both ways, that's what's gonna happen. Okay, so every time we have manipulation both ways, that's what's gonna happen. We don't have targets. We don't have target to say, all right, I want to go to the downside, I have clean targets below and I want to attack them. So at some point the low of the day looked set and the high of the day looked set, and at this moment, well, I'm not saying you can't trade. You took trades, and I congratulate everybody that took trade and they had TP. But me personally, I stayed away. You know, I moved away. Okay, I'm not gonna destroy last week performance by watching price and doing everything. All right. So now this is what I said before I went to bed this morning. All right, it was like 1 in the morning. So I was like, all right, I still want to go. I still want to see price moving to the upside and take 7,029.50. Okay, I still wanted to see that. All right, and then I said, okay, if price want to go to 7,029.50 during the night, during the London session, during the Asian session, that might be during the New York Stock session too, I want to see price move to the downside and set the low of the day first. Okay, and I was like, okay, if the market can move to the downside and then set the low of the day first, that will be a good sign to take a trade and to finally move to the upside. I've been waiting for a retracement, and that might be the retracement to go to the upside. That's exactly what I said on my mind this morning. Okay, and then I woke up this morning, the market created exactly what I wanted to see. Okay, well, actually, if I can wait a minute, let me check if I can go to alert. You can see my alert. I put some alert. Yesterday was the 10th, right? Well, the market touched this target previous day high at 856, but as you can see right here, we have the back to open alert. If you see it, back to open, that was on YM, because I was like, okay, since YM is the weaker one, is the weakest one, I want to see YM back to the opening, because YM created the upside move when the market just like opened. Okay, I was watching price and I'm like, okay, since I want to see YM move to the downside, so YM was moving to the upside, and I'm like, okay, if YM still went to the downside, so basically I'm gonna put an alert right here. If the movement happens before I went to bed, I will just watch it. Okay, but it didn't happen until like 3 in the morning, like 5 in the morning something. Okay, so you can see the alert right here. Okay, I put it at, no, not this alert right there, I put it at 12:18 in the morning, and we crossed it at 3:19 in the morning. So, well, before I went to bed, I said, okay, the market, all right, if the market will finally move to the upside and take these targets, so I want to see price drop to the downside first, manipulate the previous daily low to finally create a manipulation, finally create the accumulation I want to see to move to the upside. And then that's exactly what happened. And then when I wake up, I'm like, that's not even something, that's not a surprise. So this is very interesting. Okay, but as always, I want to buy low and sell high, which means, of course, we had the low that's been set. Okay, we had the low that's been set, and everything I wanted to see happen exactly the way I wanted them to be happened. Okay, and then I also had this potential sell area right here, because remember, what is a sell area? What is a potential area? Is the high plus the imbalance. So now if we want to go to the upside, I don't want to see any kind of rejection in this area. Okay, I want them to disrespect this area. And I was live with you, and I told you guys, all right, if we want to move to the upside, well, I want to see a retracement to keep going higher, and I don't want to see any type of rejection in this area. Yes, it's my area. As you can see, all of these boxes, they are areas I'm waiting for price to create accumulation and distribution. All right, so I had one of them right here. Okay, if you watch the New York Stock Exchange, you will see that. But I wanted to see price disrespect this area. Okay, and then I was like, okay, I finally got the move. Now I just have to wait for a retracement. As always, most of the time, okay, I'm gonna wait for price to give me the confirmation after the opening, around 9:45 or something. We had a few imbalances, and I really wanted to see price moving to the react and move to the upside. But what happened? This movement is basically a manipulation too. Okay, so this movement was basically a manipulation too. All right, as soon as I see this big candle, I saw this big candle, this inversion, and well, the way the market just react at the previous day high, I'm like, that might be a potential like manipulation, you know. And then 10 in the morning, as always, that's the hourly open at 10. Okay, that's 9:45. That's basically the hourly open right here, 10. So the market just keep dropping lower. Okay, so now as soon as I see this, I'm like, all right, we had a manipulation right here, and I said before I went to bed, I want to see price manipulate the previous daily low to go higher, and then we had it, and then again we had another manipulation. I'm like, wow, it's strange. All right, it's just the market. And then what happened next? 10 in the morning, we never had the confirmation to take a trade. Okay, that's the opening of the hour, 10. Okay, that's the opening of the hour. That's 5 minutes. The market just keep dropping lower after this manipulation, and we drop lower and lower. So now when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, we probably move from bullish gold context to bearish gold context. But at the same time, I don't want to see price create a manipulation right here. Okay, because if we said, okay, I thought the current low of day was set, so now the current low of day is not set, that's cool. So now the current high is set, so now we're just gonna create the first leg. Okay, we're just gonna create the first leg, and then we trace and create the second leg to move to the downside. That's what I said. That's why I sent them the message. Bullish context fail, probably bearish context gonna play out. But hey, the retracement was also a manipulation, you know. That's basically when I'm like, you know what, let me go to the gym. Okay, this movement right there, okay, was also manipulation. But the thing is, that's not a sellout, that's not a buy area. Basically, yeah, I was still bullish, but that's not a buy area. Okay, so now as soon as I watch on H1, for example, if you watch on H1, all right, you have a big movement to the downside and you have a rejection right here, and both of this movement looks like manipulation. And that's basically when I said, guys, so we're gonna create like consolidation right here, because we are in the middle of two manipulation. So now, is it impossible to take trades today? I'm not gonna say that. Some people take trades, and that's fine, that's totally fine. But me personally, that was not type of days I'm gonna trade. Basically, okay, I take monster trades most of the time. So okay, so now what's next? Now we gotta wait. Okay, well, this week is basically one of the week that my target might stay for longer than I expected. Okay, it happens. 7,029.50 is still here. And so now what I'm gonna wait to see. So again, we had another bearish manipulation. So the same thing I had on my head yesterday is gonna be the same thing. All right, it's just gonna be the same thing. Nothing is gonna change right now, because we had this bearish manipulation. Okay, we had this manipulation right there that created a downside move. Okay, so now this target, we just have a target right here, but this target remains here. Why? 7,029.50. It's been my target since Sunday. You knew that, okay? But now I have to see things differently. Okay, why? Remember, we've been bullish since Thursday night. Okay, and we have a first day bullish, we have a second day bullish, and then I'm not gonna say like this day was bullish, but it was not bearish. It was not too bearish neither. Okay, so now two things might happen. Okay, if the market will consider this manipulation tomorrow, the market might just retrace to the 50%, okay, of the previous day range, and then dropping lower. But this retracement should happen before we take previous daily low. Okay, well, if the market wants to create a retracement and to keep going lower, I want to see price moving to the upside first, not downside first. Remember last week when we talked about discontinuation, all right? So basically the new day, I want to see price moving to the upside first and then react to the 50%, just like this day, for example. All right, just like this day, for example, I want to see retracement and then move to the downside if price really want to hold this manipulation. All right, but now my target will be in jeopardy right now, because if we have this movement, the market will just drop massively. Okay, if the market retrace into the 50% and then we have a nice manipulation, and let's say during the pre-market the market set the high of the day and we have a nice manipulation, this movement, if we drop lower, that will be a massive move. Okay, and sous information but so pour ça li parlons massive move. Okay, but now my personal view, my personal preference, okay, I will be happier if price did that. Okay, if price does that, sorry, I'll be happier if price does that. If we just like open, okay, come to this potential buy area, create a manipulation, okay, and then finally move to the 7,029.50. That's exactly what I wanted to see before I went to bed. Well, the market created most of it. The market created most of it, but never like give a retracement to keep going higher. Okay, so that's basically how I see price. Okay, so it will be very interesting to pay attention to what price gonna do first when we have the opening, and when we wake up, or maybe during the night, the market might set up the high of the day or the low of the day during the night, and then when we wake up, we just have to find a retracement. Okay, so basically, if we have a manipulation at this low, and then when we wake up, we have a gold context to buy, that's my preference. Okay, I gotta be honest with you. That's the scenario I would rather see in the market than the bearish one. Okay, I want to see, not I want, but it will be better for, not better, but it will be cleaner if we move to the upside first and take 7,029.50. Well, this target has stayed there for forever. Like, we had it since January 29. We came here very close, we created a distribution, and now we came very close again. We create another manipulation. So that's my study right now. That's my study right now. So it's not like last week. Okay, last week, like, I just opened the screen and tell you guys, all right, this is what I want to see. This is very clean, this is very nice. This week was not the best the best week for the year so far. Okay, price action wise. Okay, not saying it's trash. I never say price action is trash, because price action gonna do whatever they want, whatever it wants to do. It's you, trader, that should be like disciplined to know, all right, that's not my strategy, that's not my setup, you know, and you just stay away. I've never heard like a trader died because he stayed away in the market. That never happened. Okay, I never like open my radio or my social media and they say, oh, this trader died because he moved away. No. So yep. So now I don't know if you have questions. Sorry for on présenter me concernant la vie, non, but vous savez, l'après-midi et puis me faire sauter dans le gym. Même si je vais dans le gym t'aller encore, but so pas un petit collé même là, non? Pas un petit collé même. That's good, man. So let me know in the chat if you don't have questions. All right, someone asked me to talk about wall numbers. So wall numbers, I've been talking about these things for like years. Okay, but it's basically 0 numbers, 80 numbers, and 50 numbers. I personally use them. I personally use them in all-time high. Okay, can you use it every day? Yes. Do I use them every day? No. Okay. Do I use them every day? No. I only pay attention to them when we are in all-time high, because that's the only information I have. For example, let's talk about YM, by the way. Let's talk about YM, because we had these targets on YM, bro. I set these targets on YM before, not before I went to bed. That was yesterday. Okay, and then market came very close to the high and then dropped lower. That was expected anyways, because we had a divergence. Okay, so yeah, as you can see right here, price reacted exactly at 50 and 600. That's a whole numbers. Okay, whole numbers, they are basically numbers with 0, 0, 20, 50, and 80. I mean, people use other like the 40, the 60, the 70, every numbers that has zero on them. But me personally, I'm like, I put my focus on the last two numbers. As you can see, that's 6, 0, 0. Okay, that's 600. That's whole numbers. So before 600, we're gonna have 580. Okay, that's whole numbers. You see where price reacted today, and we're gonna have like 50. So that's another whole numbers, and you're gonna have, you see, if you're gonna put like every whole numbers on your screen, you're gonna have a lot of flying and stuff, and that's gonna bring confusion sometimes. All right, and I've seen beginners want to learn about whole numbers and stuff. Like, beginners always want to learn everything. They think the more they learn, the more money they're gonna make. In reality, it's not. All right. So basically, that's the whole numbers. But I personally use them when we are at all-time high, because when we are at all-time high, the market will stop at the whole numbers. Okay. And let's check the all-time high on ES. That was this all-time high right here, right? So 7,000. We had 50 right here. We had 20 right here. So as you can see, between 20 and 50, the market keep moving to the keep like consolidating. Like, people gonna use 50 or 40. I don't use 40, but if you wanna use it, you can see how price react. It's not something that I use every single day. All right, like I told you, I don't use whole numbers every single day, because if you're gonna looking at whole numbers, you're gonna have a lot of lines on your chart, and they're not gonna be useful that much. My personal opinion. Okay. I know you want to learn a lot of things, but not everything is like very important. I'm not gonna say they're not useful, but not very important. Okay. So that was it. Point pour target, that's I've been saying that. Ça sont pas créé juste pour me simplifier la vie, but moi personnellement, that's not something that I use neither. Okay. And I've been telling you this. And même les m'tap montré nous, on me dit, ok guys, m'a montré nous ça pour me simplifier la vie nous, but moi personnellement, pas apprendre ni comme ça, automatiquement que me gagne deux high qui presque collé son target. Bah ouais, qui ça qui compliqué pour comprendre là. That was a low. Ok, ça c'est un low. Market là arrivé tout près. Market là arrivé même côté. Hein. That's a low. That's a equal low. Alright. And then on dit que t'as considéré low ça. So low ça vient vraiment tout près. That's a low resistance story. That's not even complicated. Il suffit que vraiment proche. Ça veut dire que il suffit, par exemple, ça, même ça pas target pour moi. Ça, just son previous daily low, côté qui m'a obtenu price vient manipuler. They are not close enough. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay. Faut que vraiment close. Okay. Donc, si on nous fait ça, et puis vous dit, alright, that's a target, I'm gonna tell you, well, it's fine, but moi personnellement, je ne vais pas considérer ça comme target, because il manque proche. Je ne vais pas considérer comme low resistance. Maintenant, soit base sur previous daily low, previous daily high, ils sont zones importantes, that's another story. Okay. And je passe sur hourly open déjà, je ne vais pas passer sur lui encore. Je passe sur hourly open dimanche passé. So, alright, it was it. That was it for today, guys. And we finally have a stream. We finally have a stream without any problem. And et bon, des pour chercher des solutions à joindre. Des pour chercher des solutions à joindre. Parfois c'est internet là. Bon, je dis depuis matin, c'était plus internet là. Mais malgré que là, t'es bon, t'es still gen drop frames. But là, nous bon. Là, nous correct. Là, nous correct. Là, nous correct. So, nous gen point de vue pour demain. Ok, nous gen point de vue pour demain. Ok. Si vraiment market là a ignorer target là pour tout, la continuer ignorer target là, j'aime plus sur 50% previous day range. Ok. Mbap même à chercher target là parce que market est arrivé là pour pas faire pas prendre target là, ça t'a crazy. Bon même si me dit déjà. But anyways, so m'a prêté attention à deux zones. Previous daily low imbalance qui constitue potential buy area avec 50% previous day range là pour me garder qui ça market là pour régler. L'aime lever ou bien avant me lever tout, l'aime dire avant me lever avant session, me déjà regarder qui ça market là pour régler parce que temps en temps me font checker chart yo chaque 3-4 heures de temps me font checker et spécialement dans le me connais une bougie H4 qui ka close bien ka open donc je font checker même si dans téléphone moi. That's why dernier même t'a dit nous que me connais exactement qui genre bougie 10 heures au close parce que normalement à 10 heures souvent dans gym souvent font checker chat dans téléphone moi juste pour me garder qui genre premier bougie H4 formé. Pour que ça pas parler totalement créole dans l'explication yo. Pour que ça ou même pas chercher par l'anglais tout. What's easier? Appreciate you too, Shirley. So, rendez-vous demain pour l'autre stream. M'espère que m'a plan avec nous. Pendant nous ça exchange là. Et m'espère que nous pas aucun problème. Passez bonne nuit tout le monde.
Purchase your tracks today.